The smallest of habits in your life, and I mean the smallest of habits, will either allow you to become the guy that you truly want to be, or it will keep you stuck, trapped in a body with an identity which you do not recognize. I just got off a call with one of my guys at AWF and the Prime Performance Protocol. Now, if you don't know what the Prime Performance Protocol is, it is my one-on-one coaching program where I work very closely with my clients beyond the training, beyond the nutrition, really focusing on your personal development and your identity as a man. Now, on this call with one of my clients, I'm not going to name him for obvious reasons. He came into the program 3 weeks ago and has been absolutely crushing it for the first 2 weeks. Now, over the past 7 days, he's been slacking in a couple of areas more than I'd like him to, because work has been stressful, which I get. We all have busy times. We all feel a little bit stressed more times than others. But work has been getting in the way a lot, and it means that he's been slacking off from his habits and what he needs to get done every single day to get him to the position that he wanted to be in. And we just jumped on this call, and I was not happy because he'd been dropping off from his steps. He'd been leaving his step count until very late at night. He was waking up in the morning, snoozing his alarm, scrolling on his phone, rolling out of bed in the morning because stress had been taking over. He had lost motivation. And listen, I understand that as humans, as guys, we are all going to face hardships. We're all going to face times when we feel a little bit more challenged. But what I'm trying to get at here, and the purpose of this video, is that we cannot let our emotions dictate our actions. Despite what is going on in our life, despite our personal circumstances and what is going on, in order for you to truly become the man that you want to be, you can't let your emotions dictate your actions. I'm saying this from what I've dealt with in the past, before I actually was on the right path and before I actually figured out where I wanted to get to. Because if I rewind back to a long time ago, I would always, I'd make some progress. I'd get my steps in, I'd train hard, my diet would be 70%, the way there, and it'd be fairly clean, and I'd make progress Monday to Thursday. And then something would happen in my life, I'd have one slip up, and then it would just dictate the entire week, right? Because I let my emotions dictate my actions. Now, I know you might be sitting here and thinking, well, just a few steps, that doesn't really matter. Just, we can always just make it up the next day. The smallest of things in your life will dictate whether you actually do become the person you want to be or you stay stuck in exactly where you want to be. I'm not saying this from just a calorie perspective and how many calories 5,000 steps burns a day. Obviously, it does compound and it really does make a big difference. But I'm saying this from a standards perspective. I'm saying this from a mindset perspective and how you respect yourself. Because if you have a stressful day, a stressful week at work, your boss is getting on your nerves, you've got a lot of work due, you've got a deadline, but you don't follow through on the non-negotiables that you need to get done every single day, then you just lose track of who you are and the man that you want to become. You lose track of your own standards. You start to respect yourself less. As I always bang on about, enough. Confidence doesn't come from just having the abs and having the lean aesthetic physique that you want. Real confidence in life comes from being the man who shows up for himself every single day and follows through what he needs to get done, regardless of his emotions. So if you're stressed, if you're feeling a little bit down, maybe you're not feeling as motivated this week, you haven't slept so well, you cannot sit there and feel sorry for yourself. You cannot sit there and think, oh, do you know what? I'll just get it done tomorrow. You can if you want, but you don't do that within my coaching program. You don't do that when you work with me. I will hold you to the highest standards because I know exactly what it feels like to drop off. I know exactly what it feels like to break my own promises every single day. I know exactly what it feels like to be on track, to feel like I'm going somewhere. And then all of a sudden I have one day, 1 week where it doesn't go to plan. And I just let myself completely go off the hook. I know exactly what it feels like. So when you work with me, I will call you out on the bullshit. I will not tolerate what is going on because I know exactly where it comes from. I know exactly why it happens. I know exactly what happens and what the actual outcome can be. I know how vital and how crucial it is that we follow through on the micro habits every single day. Now, as well as the mindset perspective, let's actually look at this from a physical point of view. So if you're skipping 5,000 steps a day, right, that's 200 calories less that you're burning on a day to day. There's a lot of people here on the marina. Now, if you're doing 5,000 steps less a day, yes, you may not think that is enough, but how much is that in an entire month? How much is that in an entire month? That is 150,000 steps that you are not getting in. Do you know how many calories you are missing out on in an entire month? 200 calories per day. That's 6,000 calories that you could potentially be burning that you are missing out on. And the difference between staying in the position that you're currently in and being in that consistent caloric deficit and actually getting that lean, aesthetic, strong physique that you want is detrimental. And that is why it's so important just to follow through on the non-negotiables every single day. You know, the reason why so many guys can never really achieve the dream physique they want, let alone sustain it, is because they haven't actually become the guy who is worthy of the results that they want. They haven't formed and solidified those non-negotiables, those small habits into their day-to-day life, where it becomes a habit, where it becomes part of them. And just going back to my client there, that is why we jumped in this call. That is why I had to put him back in his place, because as a man, you cannot let your emotions dictate your actions. It's so important, so important. You know, look at it from a confidence point of view. You cannot fake your own confidence. Confidence comes from being the guy who shows up for himself on a daily basis. If you want to be respected, like, start showing yourself some fucking respect. Start showing up when you don't feel like it. Follow through on the non-negotiables that you need to get done every single day. Because the more you do slack, the more you do skip non-negotiables, the more respect you're going to lose for yourself. I learned this the hard way. I really did. Yeah, I'd always tell myself I'd be doing things the next day. I'd always write out what I needed to get done. I didn't do it. I just didn't do it. And what happened? Well, the result of that was I lost all self-confidence. Yeah, I was in all right nick, I was in all right shape, but I didn't have anything inside of me because I just saw myself as the guy who always used to break his own promises. I was then never the guy who could follow through. You know, when I'm on these calls, I'm not angry. I will turn it up a notch, but I'm saying it because I care. It comes from a place of memories. It comes from previous experience. You know, you can feel like you've got your whole life together when you tell yourself you're going to do something. You set out an action plan for the next day and then you just flake the next day. You don't get any of it done. And that's what truly destroys you inside. I felt it. The moment that you're caught slacking, I'm going to hold you to a very high standard and let you know what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Because the training and the nutrition core, you know, they are part of the fundamentals. They are what is needed to get you to where you want to be. But your lifestyle, your recovery, your daily non-negotiables is what is going to destroy the gap between who you are now and where you want to get to. Now listen, if this does resonate with you and you found yourself compromising, slacking, breaking your own promises to yourself, I want to talk with you, because I was doing this for a very long time, and the reason why I hold my clients to a very high standard is so that they don't do that. You know, if you're finding yourself compromising, if you're finding yourself procrastinating, tolerating the poor excuses that you currently have, finding yourself not being able to follow through on anything possible, and I want you to book a call with me, or just send me a message on Instagram, whatever. Just let me know exactly what is going on with you. Let me know exactly what you're struggling with. We'll talk about your number one goal, your number one struggle, see if it's a fit, and we'll destroy the gap between where you are now and where you want to get to, all right? Other than that, I'll leave you there. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do, book that call. I'll see you in the next one.